Justin, thank you for joining me today to discuss some career advice for project managers in healthcare. It's great to have you.
Thanks for having me, Rabih. It's great to be here. A little bit about me. I've been a recruiter for the past year and a half at Gravity IT Resources. So I've been having a pretty keen eye on the healthcare market. About 40% of our portfolio is in healthcare, a lot focused around the IT and technology project management within healthcare. So I can help provide some insight into those kind of project managers
Awesome.
as well as kind of the overarching healthcare industry. But yeah, super excited for the
That's
conversation.
great. Awesome. So let's start maybe just some overview of how is the healthcare industry doing these days? What kind of trends are you seeing around recruitment and hiring?
Yeah, for sure. So I think everyone knows the past 18 months or so have been a little bit bumpy for the job landscape, like overall, just with overall market factors. I think a lot of companies might have been scared to maybe spend money, hire and bring new people on or start these new projects. But we've seen really that the healthcare industry has been pretty resilient throughout all of that. They're still kind of pushing innovation, pushing projects forward. There hasn't really been a steep drop off in terms of the overall like open positions within healthcare. So when it comes to the healthcare industry overall as well, both my parents have been in healthcare. My mom, she's a nurse, and my dad's a pharmacist. Not project managers, but they've always told me that, the healthcare industry, you're never going to be jobless. They're always going to be hiring. It's always going to be a big need for people in healthcare.
That's awesome. So it's a family experience with healthcare, multiple generations. So you're speaking from good knowledge there. And Justin, are you seeing specific sectors driving more the demand for project managers? If we're looking at health systems, pharmaceuticals, startups, it's a very dynamic industry. So anything driving more the demand?
Yeah, for Gravity, I say we're focused majority on, larger health and enterprises. And so we see a lot of hiring for project management out of those companies or those health systems, particularly knowing the main focus of recent has been AI projects. And people have been really hiring for project managers, BAs, even the technical side of building out the AI models as well.
That's
Um,
interesting. Already you're seeing this significant increase around that kind of role
yeah,
or area.
100%. I mean, they're looking for a lot of people that have either it's because AI is so new, they're not looking for someone with 10 years of AI experience, but
Right.
being so hands-on in some AI projects has been a lot of things that these health systems are working on. So it's super interesting to see kind of that trend and direction of where they're heading.
Are they hiring more contracts, project
Yeah.
managers, or more full-time employees? How is that mix going?
Yeah, I would say it's pretty heavily dependent on each, healthcare system. I would say it's probably leaning to more contract based than it is full-time employment. I think just project managers overall, the nature of it, you want to have a project manager to manage the project from beginning to end, and then when the project ends, you roll off into either another project or
Right.
pick up a new contract. There is definitely still full-time positions, but I think it's definitely leaning a lot more in the market right now to that
Which contract?
contract.
Got you. And any thoughts on hybrid versus remote versus on-site? Are you seeing any trend in some direction or the other?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a big return to office call. I would say a little bit less in the healthcare industry than kind of the other industries that I work with here at Gravity. There's some companies that are health systems that are completely fully remote, no need for on-site at all. And then there is, some that want the people either hybrid or fully on-site.
So we've established that healthcare is a good place to be in, right? There's
Mhm.
a demand for project managers.
Yeah.
For those transitioning into the project management field within healthcare, what kind of skills they already have, transferable skills they could potentially build on, right? They lack the healthcare industry experience, but they still have the fundamentals of project management.
I think trying to, I guess, narrow that knowledge gap of not knowing anything about healthcare as quickly as possible is definitely the best way to help transition. Whether you were a project manager before, in a different industry and you found some interest in healthcare, I would do, a lot of research on, what area of healthcare are you looking to get into? Is, EMR, EHR migrations, because those have some similarities to if you've done like a cloud migration, like from AWS to Azure. There's some similarities in like migration projects and trying to figure out pretty much how you can relate your previous experience in an industry to healthcare environments is kind of be the name of the game to get your foot in the door. And then once you have that background and understanding of, some of the processes in healthcare, the regulatory rules that go into effect when you're working on a project within healthcare, from there it's a lot easier to kind of bounce around to what area of healthcare you want. It's really just getting that foot in the door, closing the knowledge gap on kind of the healthcare systems and processes is the key to then unlocking, whatever role you want to
Mhm.
get in healthcare.
And Justin, I don't know if you stay in touch with those who you recruit or you
Mhm.
hire for organizations. Have you heard any kind of common challenges they talk about after they join healthcare, or gaps they feel like I wish I've addressed that piece before? So anything around that? And
That's a
yeah,
great question. I haven't heard of any, I guess, common pitfalls like across any of the project managers that I've placed. It's usually different things depending on each company. And it's usually, I guess, more overarchingly common project management problems, across all project managers, between
okay,
communication, scheduling,
yeah,
budgeting, that's kind of the most common problems that I see. I don't see, I guess, anything too specific other than really understanding kind of the healthcare lingo, kind of the operations of how everything works, and a lot of that regulatory and compliance thing.
hmm,
A lot of things move a lot slower in the healthcare industry because they have
that's a
to
good
go through
point as
so
well.
many checks and balances.
Right.
So that's kind of, I guess, what I would say that I've heard from past project managers.
Mhm, mhm. So again, we're talking about people transitioning into healthcare, right? So there's a lot of certification around project management in general. Are some certifications more valuable in the healthcare domain? Are you seeing things which are typically, the job description that pop up more than others?
Yeah, I think as far as like industry standard, the PMP is something I get asked about a lot when on calls with hiring managers. If it's not required, then it's heavily preferred. So definitely working towards getting your PMP and obviously keeping it active is another thing I've ran into. I've ran into people that have had their PMP, it's no longer active, and it's bitten me a couple of times when submitting someone to a hiring manager. So definitely working to keep your PMP active. It's just kind of industry standard for a project manager that I see a lot. In terms of some of the other like healthcare specific things I've seen, it really depends on kind of your background. I've seen a lot of registered nurses actually just end up in healthcare project management because
It's
that's just
interesting.
the way that they kind of grew up. They're like, oh, I kind of like the technology, IT side of things, and then they work their way into a PM. And so vice versa, I've also seen, maybe people heavily on the security side have some security plus certifications or CISSPs. So I've really seen a lot of different certifications depending on, the opportunity, the type of project and
Yeah.
the role. But the one I would aim for as a project manager is to get your PMP.
So that's good advice for those transitioning. For those already in the healthcare domain, right? So project managers, junior project managers, or project coordinators, they want to grow in this career. Maybe they want to switch to a more leadership role.
Yep.
What kind of traits or behaviors, or what differentiates the great project managers from the average one?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. I would say the biggest, like most important trait that I've seen for project managers, and we actually almost include this in all of our job descriptions when we're doing our outreach for finding project managers, is proactiveness. That's something that every hiring manager loves to ask about, kind of thinking about problems before they happen, reaching out before someone reaches out to you about, hey, what's going on in this part of the project, being able to be ahead of the game and attack the issues early or even think about them before they arrive is, I think, something that's super key and a little bit difficult to learn at first, but kind of when you see, a great project manager and all the things that they're doing, their outreach, doing their research about, talking to stakeholders about this before they even get to the stage, that's what really makes an effective project manager. And going hand in hand with that, the communication aspect. I think every good project manager over communicates, over documents everything that they have going on. That way they can kind of piece the puzzle together and make sure everyone's kind of in lockstep in the project.
That's great advice, and I've seen this firsthand. Actually, the people who connect better, especially with the clinical staff, the more you're able to connect with them, build their trust through proper communication, being proactive, because
Yeah.
they're dealing with patient care, right? This is always a critical day-to-day activity they have to juggle. So, yeah, I appreciate you highlighting this.
And to piggyback off of that, all the clinics, the nurses, the people that are using some of these, I work a lot with the healthcare technology. The last thing they're thinking about is how to log their notes and how to do put the things in the technology.
Right.
That's not what they care about. They care about helping the patients. And so to go in hand with the project management, it's also the change management aspect of it as well, especially
Mhm.
we do a lot of EHR migrations. And so managing how their workflows are changing, trying not to mess up the doctors and nurses that are seeing all these patients. They want to make sure they can still do their job, efficiently. And so kind of managing and working through some of these hard-headed doctors and nurses is also a big aspect of the role, which goes in hand with the communication aspect.
How have you seen those project managers who get into more senior roles? Have you seen them more being rewarded for sticking with the same employer and growing with the same company, or does the industry reward more people who change employers? Because I've heard arguments supporting both. Some people
Yeah.
say, well, I value that you worked for 3 other hospitals before, or some
Yeah.
people say, I value that you've been here for 10 years or 7 years.
Yeah. And I'll kind of, I guess, split the difference on this. When talking with hiring managers, one of the biggest emphasis is always on tenure. So they always look for people that have been at a company for, you know, I would say at least 5 years is a pretty good length of time to show your tenure. Obviously, if you are like, a contractor doing year-long projects, hopping from project to project, that's a different story. But if they're bringing on, I would say this is more for full-time roles, direct hire employment. They love to look at the tenure and being somewhere for a year to 2 years in a full-time role, and then you see they're kind of hopping jobs every 2 years. That's usually not going to work in your favor
Mhm.
for these full-time direct hire roles. They're looking for someone that's, at least 3 to 5 years in the company, has shown that they have some accomplishments set forth there. And then if they're looking around, obviously understanding the reason why they're looking for a new role. I think there's value in both. So as long as you're able to prove that and you're looking for another contract role, the tenure won't be as much of a hurdle for you.
So, Justin, we're coming to the end of this conversation. Let's wrap up maybe with some quick hints you could give to somebody who's reviewing the resume. They're taking in what you suggested today, right?
Yeah.
They want to look into some opportunities or even, just prepare for a potential move. What
Yeah.
kind of quick hints you could give them, things, what to do, what not to do?
Yeah, for sure. And this is all I do pretty much every day is help people tweak their resumes. And one thing I recommend is always having really multiple copies of your resume. You're always going to change a couple things for each company, each hiring manager, just to, I guess, almost highlight your experience and tell a story that will make them, want to hire you. I would never lie on your resume. Do not lie and put false experience on your resume, but there's definitely a way to tailor it to the specific opportunity where it makes you look, a little bit more of a fit for the role. And then kind of getting into the weeds and the details of your project. This is really what the hiring managers want to see is, what was the scope? What were you responsible for? What was the budget for this position? How many people did you oversee? How many stakeholders were there? And then obviously, what was the outcome of the project? Like, how did it go overall? So, really being able to emphasize those kind of bits of information in the project, I think you really just have to lay out the entire project for the hiring manager and make it readable for them to understand what exactly did you accomplish.
Awesome. And at Gravity IT Resources, how
Mhm.
can you assist those transitioning or those looking for a new opportunity?
Yeah, for sure. So I can definitely give you my contact information, include it in this post. You can reach out directly to me. My name is Justin at Gravity IT on LinkedIn or my email as well. Gravity IT Resources, 40% of our portfolio is within healthcare. We're locally in South Florida is our headquarters, but we have offices across Tampa, Cincinnati, Austin, Texas, Washington, D.C., Salt Lake City, all the way out to San Diego. So we have offices across the country, and all of our job openings are posted on our website, Gravity IT Resources. So if you want to check out the website and there's any opportunities that make sense for you, send me the job ID. Be more than happy to talk to you about the position, see if it makes sense for you.
Justin, thank you so much. This was very helpful. Lots of good,
Yeah,
good insights. I appreciate all your time today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate you as well.